Let me set out 7 analytical questions that we wrestle with in the NCA and where we would really welcome your support. First, we have got better at assessing the scale of each threat, but some are better than others. Our assessment on money laundering, at least 100 billion laundered through the UK or UK corporate structures, is one of the weaker ones. Our assessment on ransomware attacks depends on reporting that we know is patchy at best. So how can we improve them? Secondly, how can we compare robustly the impact of different threats? How do you compare the deaths and acquisitive crime caused by heroin with the less acute but more pervasive impact of cannabis on communities throughout the UK? More broadly, what methodology do you use to compare the impact of drugs with child sexual abuse, with organised immigration crime, with fraud? Third, within our pursue work, how do we compare the impact of expensive criminal justice outcomes, putting people in prison, with often less expensive alternative disruptions such as asset recovery or immigration action? Fourth, how do we balance between our pursue work and the very significant benefit to be had from the other 3 Ps, from designing out crime or dissuading people from a criminal path, where many of the levers sit with regulators, the private sector or the public? Fifth, while we now have a pretty robust way of assessing and comparing the tactical impact of individual disruptions, it is harder to assess their cumulative impact and to determine whether there is a causal link with changes to the overall threat. So how can we better do that and thus answer the question, are we winning? Sixth, within a field with a smaller data set, more variability and longer timescales than volume crime, how do we test and evaluate different approaches and produce evidence-based best practice from either within the UK or overseas? Finally, how can we provide some sort of indicative metric of our collective ability to bear down on the threat from serious and organised crime? We have within government coverage levels and also public threat levels for terrorism. What would an equivalent look like for SOC? I hope that is enough to get the cogs turning on a cold and wet Monday morning. I will now close my remarks and look forward to the rest of this fascinating conference. I hope you can all use it to create new relationships, networks, and opportunities to advance the fight against SOC. And I hope by the end of it, we will have some answers to the questions I've set out, or at least be able to chart a course to doing so. It is, for sure, an interesting intellectual exercise, but it is a lot more than that. It is the means of ensuring we use the resources we all have to best effect in reducing the harm from serious and organised crime. The public, rightly, expects no less of us. Thank you.